Now, folks, if you'll just gather around a little closer now. Come right in a little closer. That's it. That's fine, folks.
All right, let's go, because you know what I came in to do.
I don't get paid for overtime. I'm here to fight.
I claim I'm innocent, but that's what they all say.
Because they'll have people who will go, yeah, but it's not performance enhancing, let's...
Another factor to consider, it's not a performance enhancer, but that's not going to quell the bloodlust for those who want to take down Hearn and Conor and the event.
The UCAD testing, which is obviously the testing agency that the British Boxing Board of Control use and are governed by, have all been clear and negative, and there was an adverse finding on VADA test previously. So there's not been an official doping violation. There's a process that has to be gone through. Conor Benn is not suspended by the British Boxing Board of Control.
People have to understand, if it's an adverse finding, that's not a failed test. An adverse finding is something they can't clarify. Just for clarity, we need to confirm if it's an adverse finding or a failed drug test. Because there is a difference. I know the people who are screaming Matchroom at Conor don't want to hear that. That's the real shit, though. Eddie tried to compare it to the Dillian Whyte situation, where he had an adverse finding. But as far as I remember, they didn't have a substance to pin on Dillian. But here, they have a substance. So how is that an adverse finding if they've actually found a substance? It's either on the ban list or it's not. They have a substance. Clomiphene, if that's how you pronounce it. When does the B test come back? Does that come back after the fight?
There's a major systemic failure in boxing with the way that we process adverse findings when it comes to drug tests. You just heard Conor Benn just say there, I've committed no violations. And as it stands right now, I know this is mad for the audience that are listening this morning. I've given all the information that they've been given. It's absolutely true. No rules, as it stands right now at what time? 22:08 on a Thursday morning. No rules right now have been broken.
Conor Benn said he's clean, he's innocent.
But that's what they all say.
And everybody wants the fight to go ahead. He said he spoke to Chris Eubank, and Eubanks wants to go ahead with the fight. Like Eddie's saying that the board haven't suspended Conor, and there's no official violation. VADA don't actually penalise boxers once they pop them. They hand over the information to the commission, or in this case, if they were going to hand it to someone, it would be the British Boxing Board of Control. So that doesn't say much that he hasn't received an official violation. I mean, this is the second time that VADA have popped an athlete and UCAD haven't, when they've both been testing the same boxers, same fight. A similar thing happened between Saunders and Andrade, and that fight got cancelled. Billy Joe got popped for some nasal spray, but UCAD was saying that it was, what was it, out of competition when he was using it, and the fight went away. Not because of the British Boxing Board of Control. They didn't suspend Saunders. They didn't tell him he couldn't fight. It was the Boston, Massachusetts Commission. They killed the fight. The British Boxing Board of Control said yes, he can go out there licensed as a British fighter. They were going to stop the fight, the British Boxing Board of Control, not because of the drug testing, but because of them stupid pranks he was pulling with that prostitute, offering her money for crack or whatever. And if they took his license, they said they better not go over there with another license. So they're full of it. They're contradicting themselves. If Eddie's contradicting himself, so are they. And there's other people contradicting themselves, and we'll get to them in the video. Why use two agencies as well? Like, this is the second time the British Boxing Board of Control have not acknowledged VADA's findings when testing British boxers. Why are VADA doing testing then? The board are all about the place. They was going to let Saunders fight, even though he got popped by VADA, but they're not going to let Conor fight. He got popped by VADA. It just doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. Be clinical. Let's have clinical conclusion and adjudication. Who gives a shit who popped him, UCAD or VADA? If he's dirty, he's dirty. Suspend him, and then the fight won't go ahead. Unless Eddie goes for this Luxembourg license, like a lot of people are hinting at. Now look, the Wasserman brand and the Matchroom brand, they have a dilemma on their hand. They want the fight to go ahead. They've invested a lot of money. They've done a grand promotion for this fight. And like Eubank said, Conor's muddied the water. And he has. You can't let Conor have a catchweight rehydration clause with stiff penalties for every pound that Eubank weighs in over the limit. And then you've got this as well. He's got to give up something. At least let Chris freely rehydrate with no restrictions on that, on how much he can rehydrate. At least let him do that if this fight is going to go ahead. The board say they're prohibiting the fight from going ahead, which basically says they're not going to sanction it. But let's say Conor wants to take another fight in a couple of months' time. What are they going to do? Or what are you going to say? You're not going to give him a license? How are you going to do that if you didn't suspend him? You didn't suspend him. So he's still got a British license, I assume. because you haven't suspended him, but you're saying he can't fight. The board are a bit wimpy, lightweight. I don't think the fight can go ahead, but I could be wrong. Conor wants to fight and Chris wants to fight, and they're the two guys going in the ring. Eddie and Nice are determined it goes ahead. They're still very determined it goes ahead. And you can understand why. I mean, this is a huge promotion. Like, Matchroom at least spent a lot of money on that shoulder programming. Count the days. Billboards. You know, they've been on Great Morning Britain. And the BBC were actually going to broadcast this on radio. And I think this would eventually have led to the highlight programs they were talking about doing. But that's cancelled. Yesterday, they cancelled a documentary they were going to air about the fight called Born Rivals between Conor and Junior. So BBC are going to be getting out of boxing. And is it Conor Benn's fault or boxing's fault is the question. So Conor could be fucking up a lot of money here for some big people in the industry. They will not be best pleased. Chris Sr., he'll be looking at this like divine intervention. Like the Lord answered his prayers, saving his son for a fight he didn't want his son to be involved in because of the weight cut. Other parties that will be happy, Frank Warren, Ben Shalom, Adam Smith, they'll be like, oh, because this was going to do more pay-per-view than Tyson and Dillian White. Yes. Their fight just didn't have the promotion that this had. And Ben Shalom, obviously they cannot be too happy with Eubank crossing over from Sky to DAZN when Eubank signed to Sky with Wasserman. The DAZN pay-per-view platform was about to kick in big time. They had Virgin Media. Virgin Media has the widest reach out of any satellite network in the UK. They had Virgin Media, the BBC. This was DAZN's big day. You know, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, have they been set up? Because there's a lot of players who wouldn't have wanted to see this event go ahead. They wouldn't have wanted to see it go ahead. All this shit that Eddie had information about Conor's drug tests for weeks and tried to hide it from us is bullshit. It's bullshit. When Frank Warren and Mick Hennessy sat on the Christian Hammer results for Tyson Fury for over a year. We didn't hear about them results till after Tyson Fury beat Klitschko. And Warren's running his mouth now, talking about they should cancel the fight. You didn't cancel the Klitschko fight, did you? How long did you hold on to that? All promoters are hypocrites when it comes to PEDs. All of them. Heyman, yeah, I called you a promoter. Hearn, yeah. Warren, yeah. And Aaron, all of them. And I'm not going to go for examples. I've got them all in my head. I'm not going to go for examples. Will we get to the weigh-in is the question. And if we get there, will we get to the O2? But fair is fair. They got Eddie today. You know, like they dug up some footage of Eddie talking about Billy Joe Saunders pulling out of the Andrade fight, even though the Boston, Massachusetts Commission were going to cancel the fight. Billy decided to pull out before that happened. And they caught Eddie out here. When Billy got popped, Eddie was saying, well, what's the point doing all this testing and then ignoring the findings, which is what he's trying to do now with Conor and Chris.
I don't need to save money. I want to put on good fights. So that was a good fight for DAZN. So I'm disappointed. But what is the point in signing up for drug testing if when you fail, everyone just goes, oh, don't worry about it, just let him fight, you know? Yeah. So, the argument of, well, it's all right with UCAD is totally irrelevant. You've signed drug testing with VADA, the best testing agency, in my opinion, in the sport.
I claim I'm innocent, but that's what they all say.
So basically, Eddie was defending VADA with the Billy Joe Saunders situation because his fighter was Andrade. Now he's basically hiding behind UCAD because Conor came up clean with them. So yeah, hypocrite. Cali Sowland told TalkSport that later this evening he'll have a clearer picture, or we'll have a clearer picture whether the fight goes ahead or not. The last update I got from the Daily Mail, Eubank and Benn are set to meet at 4 p.m. at the press conference today with the fight going ahead. And according to the Daily Express, there will be revision over the weight possibly, and that can only be in Chris Eubank's favour because if Conor is cheating, they can't let him have so much pull in the rehydration and catch weight. I'm going to wait for the weigh-in and then I'll make my prediction, but I have a feeling that the tide could be turning against Conor Benn right now. I really do.